strategy. This is the second element in the actualization phase of any organizational transformation endeavor. The term strategy refers to a high-level plan to achieve one or more goals under the conditions of uncertainty. There is a story that illustrates a concept very well. There was once a master thief who was getting old, so his son requested this thief to teach him the tricks of the trade so that the son could also start to make a living on his own. The father agreed and asked the son to accompany him on a burglary attempt that night. So they went to a house, scaled the boundary wall, made their way inside, entered a room where they found a cupboard full of clothes and valuables. So the father instructed the son to enter the closet and locate the most valuable clothes and jewelry. When the son did so, the father inexplicably locked the door of the almirah such that the son was locked inside. He then made his way to the front door of the house, thumped loudly on it, and then quietly slipped away. Several hours later, the son returned home, disheveled, exhausted and tired, only to find his father sleeping and in fact snoring. The son was very angry and admonished his father that, "Dad, why did you lock me into that closet? If it had not been for my fear of getting caught, it would have been very difficult to escape. I had to employ all of my ingenuity to find my way out of that situation." The father thief smiled and said, "My dear son, that was your first lesson in the art of stealing. You are now ready to operate on your own. Start tomorrow night." So that was the illustration of an effective strategy, which is essentially the ability to see the future consequences of present actions. There are three elements of a business or an organizational strategy. First, to formulate the desired goals. Second, to identify the actions that will help accomplish the stated objectives or goals. And the third is the mobilization of resources and the development of appropriate policies that will help to execute the identified actions. In order to formulate an effective strategy, there are three prerequisites. The first is the knowledge of the environment, the market, and the competition. Second is the ability to analyze this information in a systematic and dynamic manner. And finally, the ability to use logic and imagination in choosing between various alternatives. One of the finest examples of the use of strategy in bringing about business transformation relates to the shepherding of ITC under Y.C. Deveshwar. Mr. Deveshwar took over the reins of ITC in 1996 at a very precarious juncture. The recent diversification forays of the company had faltered. There was a battle of control that was going on among the stakeholders in the midst of a very public smear campaign, and on the very first day that he took office, a retrospective excise demand of 803 crore rupees was placed on ITC, thus imperiling its financial stability. In this turbulent scenario, Mr. Deveshwar set as the beacon for his strategy as championing the interests of the country, or India first, as he articulated it. That meant that ITC would henceforth act as a champion of value creation for Indian society and economy, even as the shareholders would be rewarded with enormous growth. Besides careful diversification of the business, Mr. Deveshwar's chief strategic element was to adopt the triple bottom line goals as his approach to growth. This meant that the company would simultaneously create value on the economic, ecological, as well as the social elements of the national economy. This strategy worked wonders. Over a period of 2 decades, the revenue of the company grew 10 times, the profit before tax multiplied 33-fold, and the market capitalization increased 50 times. The compounded annual growth rate in terms of shareholder value was 24%, which is astounding. Apart from all this, there was afforestation, rural empowerment, women empowerment, livestock development, and rural education. These sectors were benefited tremendously as a result of ITC's functioning between 1996 and 2016 under the charge of Mr. Deveshwar. Thus, enormous value was created for all the stakeholders. The enabler was a good strategy. Thank you.